Hi, and welcome to another coloring tutorial for Copic markers, and I'm Sherrie Siemens. And today actually I felt in the wintry mood, so you may hear Christmas music in the background, but I also am using an image which was one of the very first images I bought when I first started stamping. It's a real golden oldie here by Art Impressions. I bought it back in, I think, 9 years ago or so, but it's still one of my kind of classic favorites, and I wanted to show you today how to make your whites look white and how to make your blacks look black without coloring them white or black. So first of all, I'll start off with the shading on the snowman. And here what I've chosen is E21, and I'm going to make this kind of a vintagey snowman. So I am definitely going to just kind of loosely color in some shadows. I'm going to pretend the sun's coming from over here, and I'm going to just underneath the scarf and this part here, a little bit under the buttons, and definitely down at this back corner and this side of his face. And you can see I'm just coloring like really loosely. I'm just kind of laying in a little bit of color, and let your stamp be your guide. There's obviously a little bit of shadowing that's happening right there, and then what I'm going to do is to throw in a little bit more contrast. I'm going to take my E25 and I'm just going to go off the tip of it and just add a little more dark brown where the shadows would be the deepest. So at the very edge of my corners, right underneath the scarf there, right on this back side a bit too, just so you have a little bit of a couple colors going on. Okay, and I'm finding that it's a little bit kind of browny looking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw in a little bit of, where did it go? I have an E40 marker. It's a brick white, and I'm just going to kind of go over what I just did a little bit, just to help blend the two colors together, and also just by adding a little bit more of a gray tone to those browns that I already laid in. And then what you want to do next is you want to push the colors to the edges. So you're going to use your blender pen for that. And what I do is I really just go on the edges and push my light colors towards the edge. So you're being fairly liberal with your blender pen. Make sure it's nice and juicy. Nothing worse than a dead blender pen. And as you can see, the blender will dry clear, and what it's doing is it's pushing that hints of color right to the very edges of my object, and the darkest being at the very deepest shadows. Okay, and then when I'm attacking his hat, I thought I would use the warm color palette to get closer to my black color. So I'm going to use warm 1, warm 5, and warm 7. And I'll start here on the top. I'm going to leave a little strip there white and color the rest with my warm 1. Now my warm 5, I'm going to definitely kind of color the edges like that. Come back with your warm 1 and kind of just smooth out those edges a bit. And then for the final bit of blending, you want to come in with the warm 7 and just hit the very darkest parts. As you can see, as I go darker in color, I don't color as deep as I did with the previous color, so that there is room to see the graduation between those two colors. And I'm coming back then again with my warm 1 and just smoothing that all out. As you can see, I left my little highlight there, and the rest of it looks like kind of a charcoal colored hat. Now I also wanted to show you, since I have my warm markers out, I'll just show you really quickly on how to get your shadowing around your image and then fading it away to white. So I'm going to use my warm 0, my warm 3, and a little bit of my warm 5. So this is warm 00, warm 3, and warm 5. Now you start with your very lightest, and then since my sun's coming from here, I am going to shadow this side, and as you can see, I'm doing a lot of shadow with my warm 00 because it's the lightest and its shadow is cast the furthest. So up along the side of his hat and underneath. Don't forget this side of him too. He might have a little bit under his nose, under his hat a little, under his arm. Okay. Then come in with your warm 3, and again, you don't go quite as deep, but where the darkest shadow is where you want to definitely give a little bit more color. So come back with your warm 00 and just kind of meld those lines together so it looks gradual. For the last hit of your shadow, go in and add your W5 and be very, very faint with this shadow because it's your very deepest shadow. So only in the really deepest creases would you have this shadow. And then come back with your warm 3 and blend that line in. I'm working on Nina cardstock, and I used Memento's Tuxedo Black ink. And then what you want to do once you have all your colors kind of melded is you want to come back in with your blender pen, and you want to work from this direction and just kind of smooth out the edges and push your shadow towards your image, and that will make it fade away to white. Oh, nice. I got a nice big thing of ink on there. Well, I have to cut that out. It must be off of my line drawing down here. Okay, there and there. Now that's ballpoint pen, so that won't come out with any kind of Copic. Okay, now next I wanted to do a real quick little pop of color with a scarf. So what I'm going to use is R24, R29, and R59 because I'm going to put this with really kind of vintagey papers. So R24 being your lightest, going first. And you know, you can see that this stamp is quite loose in its design, so you can really color in the same manner. And it's going to be lightest right in the middle of the scarf here, so my darker parts being more here, down on the bottom side of the scarf here, and a little bit here. And then your really deepest color, your R59, is going to be right at the very bottom here. And right in this knot. Then you can take your R24 again, and then just kind of smooth out those colors.